Is it considered to be more than a coincidence when ancient history, biblical prophecy and theology, occult history and philosophy, tribal migration, astrology, mythology, geography, and military strategy all dovetail in a meaningful and cohesive way with a set of previously undocumented images created by the topology within a very specific location? You decide. Characters associated with Orion. In Greco-Rome, Orion, the giant hunter. In Europe, Nimrod, the mighty hunter. In Egypt, Osiris, the sun god. In the Near East, Anu, the heavenly shepherd. In the Middle East, Aldebaran, the giant. In Mexico, Hapt, hunter, a 3-star constellation made of Orion's belt, namely Hamoja, the pronghorn, Hap, the mule deer, and Mojet, the bighorn sheep. The Hidatsa, Crow, and Lakota Native American Indians all have a mythological story involving a hand constellation, which also forms part of the constellation of Orion. The Crow Indians say a character called Berlichka, meaning one with a long arm, reached through a portal in the sky for a twin, but while doing so, the other twin, named Thrown into the Spring, cut the hand of Berlichka off at the wrist, and it fell to the ground. Then, thrown into the spring, threw the hand into the sky, where it became the hand constellation. It can be said that Nimrod, Pan, Gilgamesh, Berlichka, Osiris, and Apollo are all the same characters in ancient history, and that they are also represented by the constellation of Orion or the hand constellation, which are also one in the same. The reason for the many names is that Jehovah caused a breakup of the one language, Babylonian, among the existing global population. This was done in order to stop the practice of pyramid and ziggurat building, such as the Tower of Babel, which were used to make contact with fallen angels who came down to earth at this very location of Mount Hermon. This practice led to the interbreeding between fallen angels, human women, and also with animals. Their hybrid offspring had stature and abilities that modern-day transhumanists dream of recreating, but this was a complete corruption of Jehovah's much greater plan for humanity, and as a result, God sent the flood to restart humanity through the pure human line of Noah. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown, and Nimrod was one. The location of Pan's temple and grotto, where human sacrifice to Pan took place. This fortress was built in 1229 by the Muslim Kurds to defend against Crusaders. Then in 1517 the Ottoman Turks conquered it. It was then destroyed by an earthquake in the 18th century. In 1860, an Islamic Gnostic sect called the Druze named it Nimrod's Fortress when massacring the Christian Maronites. But according to local tradition, the reason it is named Nimrod's Fortress is because it is said that Nimrod, the first Antichrist, once dwelt on this very summit. Was this once, and will it be again, the location of a throne belonging to the final Antichrist? How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations! For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you will be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit. In Hebrew, Sheol means place of the dead, and pit means a watery hole. At the fingertips of this hand geoglyph is Pan's Grotto, a watery hole once used for human sacrifice. Is this the actual watery hole of the dead? These verses of scripture speak of an Antichrist sitting on the mount and yet above the stars. If this landscape is a geoglyph of a series of constellations, then these verses would also carry a literal meaning. Also, the final Antichrist will be a satanic counterfeit version of Yeshua or Jesus. A throne on top of the hand geoglyph would be a twisted interpretation of sitting at the right hand. It is at this very location that Yeshua spoke these prophetic words. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. The Greek word used for rock can mean mass of rock, in this case a historical future hostile landmass, and gates of Hades can be interpreted as a spiritual gateway of death. While Yeshua was still talking to Peter at this location, he also said these words, And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. It is interesting that these geoglyph symbols are found both on the earth and in the stars. Also, in the occult there is this saying, as above, so below. These words of Yeshua in Matthew 16 are prophetic words of encouragement to his future church, regarding very difficult times ahead. He also emphasized the importance of his followers to take spiritual authority, and of the eventual victory over the Antichrist in the end times. Could it be that he deliberately chose this location to give this message? Could it be a significant location or a gateway where the worst enemies of Yeshua and his church will return or reign from for a short time before Yeshua returns, rules and restores earth? A key act that will unveil the true nature of the final Antichrist will be when he abolishes a daily sacrifice system in a new third temple, and will set up an abomination of desolation there. This third temple and its new sacrificial system have not been set up yet. The only thing that the Jews are waiting on is to find a 3-year-old red heifer without any imperfections. The sacrifice of this young calf will usher in the new sacrificial system and the opening of the new third temple or fortress. 3.5 years after which, this false Christ will reveal his true nature. The Jewish ritual of sacrificing a red heifer took place on the Mount of Olives. This is also where Yeshua, Jesus, is prophesied to return to earth at the end of the age, as written in Zechariah 14:4. Directly below the heifer geoglyph, at the fingertips of the hand geoglyph, is the place of human sacrifice to Pan. Could this be another reason to believe that the final Antichrist, the false Christ, will choose to return to our earthly realm here? The bull is a Babylonian symbol representing both war and Nimrod. In Babylonian artwork, the bull is depicted as being led by hand, facing towards a human-like deity with horns. The artwork on serpentine cylinder seals also shows a star above a crescent moon, and what scholars believe to be a winged gate above and behind the bull, respectively. This is where Mount Hermon is in relation to the bull head geoglyph. And in Mesopotamian mythology, the Great Bull of Heaven was a Sumerian deity, also known as Taurus. He was the first to marry Ereshkigal, the goddess of the realm of the dead. Is this winged gate the same gate that Yeshua referred to as the gates of Hades? Mount Hermon is identified in the Book of Enoch as being the place where the fallen angels entered the earthly realm before committing the acts written in Genesis 6:4. The Transfiguration also happened on this mountain range, where Yeshua, Peter, and James supernaturally met with Moses and Elijah. Do these geoglyphs mark a gateway to the spiritual realm? Is this location where the final Antichrist, the false Messiah, will return to before entering into Jerusalem to reign for 7 years? Are these geoglyphs natural formations, or were they made by someone? And if so, who made them? How were they made, and why were they made? And what role will this location play in the prophesied future Middle East conflicts? Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. This geoglyph of Pan is found just to the left and above of Pan's grotto. Pan is known as an ancient god of the mountains, flocks of animals, and shepherds. He has the body of a man with a goat-like head, horns, feet, and tail. He also had a trinity of other names. They are Argreus the hunter, Nomius the shepherd, and Phorbius the fearsome one. He could entice people to follow him with his enchanting music. In the end times, many of the church leaders, shepherds, will be led away from the truth and follow the Antichrist's deception. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armour of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armour of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Many of us have experienced spiritual authority over darkness through calling on Yeshua and his Spirit living within us. For us, there is no debate that Yeshua has already beaten all darkness through his death and resurrection. Yeshua offers his Spirit and salvation to all who call on him and choose to live in relationship with him. Our real victory is through Yeshua, Jehovah, the eternal Creator God incarnate, who is only a prayer away.